Alright, so the grid system in CSS is pretty easy because it helps us in designing our website. It uses both columns and rows to display our content, and one of its biggest benefits is that it can work in two dimensions, both horizontally and vertically. When it comes to Flexbox, which we'll see later, we don't have such options. We can either display our content horizontally or vertically. Alright, so here are some of the main properties. First, we have like the grid template rows, which specifies the row and its width. Then we have grid template columns, which specifies the column and its width. Then we have a grid template area, which is not very important, and it only specifies the area. And some of the other properties are grid row gap, grid column gap, and grid gap. These are mainly used to specify the gap between rows and columns. Then we have justify items, justify self, which display our content vertically, align items, and align self that display our content horizontally. Then comes grid row start, grid row end, grid column start, grid column end, grid row, and grid column. So these are the grid properties. Let's now try them in VS Code. Okay, so here I already put some tags. I used the main div tag and I assigned a class to it with the name main. Then I used different div tags here and assigned classes to every tag. Okay, then I used the universal selector to change the margin and padding to 0. So first of all, I'll assign the display property to the main class div. We have discussed this property in the previous lesson. I'll write display grid because we are working on a grid right now. Then I'll write grid template rows, repeat 3 200 pixels, but this doesn't work properly. So it's not working properly because we need to change the width frequently to play around with it. So I'll write grid template row 200 pixels, 200 pixels, 200 pixels. This means I want to have 3 rows of 200 pixels. Okay, then I'll write grid template columns 200 pixels, 200 pixels, 200 pixels. I'll save it and I check the result in the browser, and as you can see it looks like this. Now we'll give them a background color and specify their width and height. So I write the BG color, width and height for all the tags here. I save the file. On a side note, I would recommend you to use Firefox whenever you are working with the grid system because it has some advanced functions. So if you're working with the grid system, better use Firefox. Okay, now I'll open the browser and you can see all the divs have different colors. So now I want to give some space between them. So I'll go here and write grid gap 20 pixels, 20 pixels. I'll refresh my browser and you can see the result. Okay, now I'll show you how you can change the position of the divs. Okay, if I want to replace the A, like the .A div with the .C div, I'll first of all need to understand their lines. You can open the developer tool by pressing F12 and you have to go to grid. Okay, as you can see it's displayed in this way. I'm giving some space from the left. Here I'm giving space, margin left 200 pixels, save it, and now as you can see it's displaying like this. So this is my first column, second column, and third column, and their numbers are appearing. With these numbers we can do amazing things. I want to bring div 1 at the place of div 5 and div 5 to div 1. So to do this we'll use properties. Grid column should start from 2 and end at 3. As you can see, 2 is from here, 3 ends here. So first I'll write this, then I'll write a row. Row is that one. A row should start from 2 and end at 3. Okay, now I'll go to my VS Code. I went to A and wrote grid column start 2 and grid column end 3 and save it. Then I'll write grid row start 2 and grid row end 3. I save it. And now as you can see, div 1 changed its position to 5, but div 5 did not change the position with div 1. It changed with some other div because we did not give that property. So now I'll go to VS Code and we'll copy it and we'll paste the same as it is in the fifth one. Okay, so I'll change the values of property 1, 2, and 1, 2. I save it. Now the div5 changed with div1 and div1 changed with div5. Okay, so this is how we can change the positioning of any div. We'll increase or decrease the width and height of our divs without using width and height. So how can we do it? As you can see, I have specified width and height to everyone. So I'll go here and comment on it. My row should start from 1 and end at 3, and the grid column should start from 1 and end at 2, because I want to increase its width, not height. Okay, let me tell you how we can make this work. So we call this like spanning, and spanning works when you do not give width and height. So I've given width and height. Okay, I'm cutting it. Now, as you can see, I refresh it. Its height has been increased from 1 to 4. Like when I refresh it, as you can see, the height changed from 1 to 4. So if you want to increase its width, then I'll make its row from 1 to 2 and here 4. I save it. Now we can increase the 6 to 9. First of all, I'll check its lines. If you're facing problems, then you can check line and column by moving it. The sixth one has row 3 and column 2. Now I'll go to the sixth one. Here I'll write grid row, start from 3 and end at 6. I'll write grid column 1 to 2 because I do not work to spanning the column but want to increase its height. Okay, now I'll save it. As you can see, there is no such impact made. So why? Because I've specified width and height to it. Now I'm cutting it, I save it, and as you can see, its width and height have been specified. This is how we can change the positioning. If I want to change the seventh one, then I'll go to 1, I'll copy it, I'll paste it in the seventh. Then I'll remove it. Okay, now I'm checking it like to see what's the row and column. So the seventh one is the third column and the third row. Okay, so I'll write 3. I'll make an adjustment of the column. I should start from 3 and end at 4. I save it, I refresh it. As you can see, its height has been decreased. Okay, so this is how you can span your divs. Now we will discuss our next properties in which we can set the alignment of our divs. I'm removing the spanning of all of them, so I save it and I refresh my browser. And now let's see how I can set their alignment. So I'll go to main, I'll write justify items. We have 3 properties, i.e. start, center, and end. I want to do at center, and for now I'm commenting it because due to the margin left we can't know center properly. So I save it, and as you can see, so the one that I specified the height for, the alignment is stable, and those for which I did not specify the height, they have changed. Okay, so I'm changing the width and height of everything. Now I'm commenting it, and yes, so I'm commenting it as well. If we specify width and height, then we cannot understand the alignment nor how it's working. So that's why I'm changing it to help you understand. Okay, so I save it, and as you can see, they all moved to the center. Alright, so if I do here align the items center, so they will move to the center horizontally as well. I wrote align items center, I save it, and as you can see, they both moved to the center horizontally and vertically. When I'm writing align item and justify item in my div, all of them are working, but what if you want to change the positioning of any one of them rather than all of them? So I delete this, I save it, I'm deleting A, I want to change D, so I'll write align self center and justify self end, save it, and as you can see, my div 4 changed its position vertically and horizontally. It moved to the end by just moving to the center by aligning itself. This is how you can change the position of any div. Okay, so I'm copying it and pasting it here. I saving it and changing only their alignment, start, center. Okay, I save it. Actually, that property is not here, and I wrote it by mistake, so I'm cutting it, I'm pasting it here, I save it, and now as you can see, its property is working. So this is how we can change and align anything, basically. All right. So this is how we can change the alignment of the div and can set it, basically. Yeah, that's what I meant. Okay, so I'll recommend that when you're working on a grid, use a well-suited browser, like the one that like one that is compatible, so that it will be helpful to see your column and row. Okay, as you can see, my column and row here, like we can see them very easily, and yeah, this is how we set our alignment. All right, and now on to the next lecture. Okay, so let's now talk about Flexbox. We mostly use Flexbox to make the layout of a website. So we can either use Flexbox or the grid system or both. In the grid system, we can make rows and columns, but in Flexbox, we can only make rows or columns. We cannot make both. Alright, so as you can see in the example, in this example we have rows or columns. We can make only one column or row. If we work on 2 dimensions, it will not work on there. So now let's see the properties of Flexbox. Flex direction, in which the direction we want to work, and flex wrap, like that's the direction that we want to work with. So when the data is overlapped, and the flex flow, it is the short property of direction and wrap. Flex grow, justify content, align content, is used to check the order and alignment. So we also have order, align self, and align items. Now let's go to VS Code and check the property one by one. Okay, so now make a div and add a class main, and add children, and add different classes. Okay, and the coding is the same as the grid system. Okay, and to change it, first let's check its result on the browser. Can you all see this? It's showing on the browser. Okay, so previously in the beginning of the CSS part, in the beginning, we used the property of inline flex, and that basically, like, this is how it works. So go to main body, write display. Whenever we work, we have to do so in the display flex. So glow, inline, etc. We are working in Flexbox, so write flex, and as you can see, it's working. Sometimes the flex property doesn't work, so we have to give the direction in the flex direction. Okay, so in this one we have 4 properties: column, column reserve, column reverse, row, and row reverse. Column is the default property and row is not by default. There is one more property, which is row reverse. If we select this, this will show the content in alternative opposite way. Okay, next you have flex wrap. So here, fix the width 500 pixels and height 80 VH. As you can see, the content is stretched all the way. I don't want to stretch them, so the data is completely overlapped, but we want it to be beneath. So for that, we have the property flex wrap reverse. Okay, here I'll use wrap and save it. As you can see, the content automatically set its widths. So if I want to increase the widths, it will set automatically. So there is one more property, that is flex flow. Here, the first property is related to direction. We take in the column, and the second one is used as wrap or no wrap. I'll select no wrap, it will show the result like this. If I use wrap here, it will display like this. Okay, so after these properties, we'll now see how to set alignments. There is 3 properties for this, that are align content, align item, and align self. We will check them one by one. I'll remove some data from here and write something like 1, 2, 3, 4 and save it. I'll give the result like this. I write row there and delete this. It will show me like this. So I'll change its width to 1000 pixels and it will display like this. I'll justify the content. We've read in the grid system that justify content works vertically, so right here right here end, it will go to the end. If I change it to center, it will show in the center. Now I'll use the align item and center, save it. Okay, it will show you in the center. I'll add background color, select color, and it will show this. Okay, now change it to end, it will display like this. If I want to change it to its justify position to start, it will display from the start. Okay, in this way we can display our content. So if you want to move just one property, you can use align set in Flexbox, justify content. So let's move align item and use align self center and save it. It will show you like this one in the center and others. Okay, so align content, the align content property works when you have multiple lines, like in the divs. For example, here I have only one row, and if I have more than one row, then I can use align content to set the width and the height. Okay, now remove this and this one. Let's see another property, flex grow. So it's not this special one, just that it's used to increase the width, and here I'll cancel the width and save it. It will display like this. Okay, I'll use here the flex grow 2 and paste it and just change their values into 5, 4, 1. Okay, as you can see, there is a difference between them due to grow, so it's used to change the widths. Here I've given 2 to the first one, it's showing like this. The second one is bigger, and the third one, then we have the fourth one, it's smaller because I've given 1. By this you can change the width easily without using the width property. So let's move to next property, that is order by width. We can change the position of the div. First remove all and save it. As you can see now, I'll use some more divs, change them and save it. Okay, so as you can see, there are many divs. I can change their position using the property order. Okay, it works as from the less than to greater than. So it starts from -1 and follows the sequence. Okay, so go to G and give the order of -1. The -1 property is displaying on the first one. So now if I gave if I give the order -2, it will display before the -1. So it works in this way, less than to greater than. If I gave the order of 3, then here it will show me like this. Alright, so we've done the order property, the line, the justify content, and other properties, rows and columns in Flexbox. Okay, so what's remaining is only one topic that we'll cover in the next lecture. Alright, let's move on. Let's now talk about media queries. Alright, so media queries are used to make your website responsive. This means that if your website is created on a big screen, you'll also need to make it compatible with smaller screens. And all of this interoperability depends on media queries. So we've covered all the basic and advanced topics in CSS, and media queries is our last topic. We've tried using margin and padding before, but whenever we minimize the screen, the content overlaps. So here we'll learn how to properly make our website responsive. One more thing, if you want to make your website responsive, try using Bootstrap. And the less you use media queries, the faster your website will be. So Bootstrap is a CSS framework. It's a completely different topic, so let's not talk about it for now. Alright, so here we have a few properties like all, screen, print, and speech. And the most commonly used is the screen. Let's have a look at the syntax. So first we write at media screen. Then I open the brackets and write max or min widths. Then we'll write the breakpoint like 200 pixels depending on the screen size. After that we'll open the brackets again and we write all the CSS properties inside. Okay, so let's now have a practical look at it in VS Code. So here I'll use the div tag. I write lorem, I save it. Then I'll go here and select the div tag and write width 300 pixels. You can use any property here. Then I write height 300 pixels and color burly wood. I'll also write background color and font size and save it. So let's check the result in the browser. And as you can see, it looks like this. Alright, so I'll change the color because it's not visible. One thing you should remember is that media queries should always be used at the end of the CSS document, after you've used all the tags. So here I'll write at media screen max width 1100 pixels. I copy all of this and paste it here. I'll remove the height and width and change the color to pink. I reduce the font size as well. Now I check the results in the browser and you can see the content is the same. But the changes will take place when I minimize the screen. So you can see that I've used a breakpoint of 1100. So when I reduce it to that point, the text color and the font size will automatically change. Okay, let me now change the background color and you can see the result. Also, you can specify the minimum width as well. So here I write min width 900 pixels. I save it. Now this property will only work from 900 pixels to 1100 pixels. So I refresh the page and you can see that the color changes only when the width is between 900 pixels and 1100 pixels. Okay, so now I'll copy this and change the minimum width to 700 pixels and the maximum width to 900 pixels. I'll also change the font size. I'll refresh the page and you can see that when I reach the 900 pixel breakpoint, the color will again change. You can use any properties you want. So basically we have some properties for a screen width between 900 and 1100 pixels. Then again, some other properties when the width is between 700 and 900 pixels. Alright, so this is how you can use media queries to fix the layout of your website. We are reaching the end of the course. Now the ball is in your court. I hope that by now everything is crystal clear to you. Alright, and now on to the next lecture.